Okay, cool. Okay, so colleagues who are joined in and you are really, you use French or you use Portuguese, apologies that we were unable to get the interpretation services, but we'll see that at least most of the information that is being shared here is going to be translated, but also shared into Portuguese and French, so that then you're able to fully understand. But in the meantime, you can use the caption sections for you to be able to follow through and understand all the nitty-gritties about the webinar, but also about the call that we are talking about today. So on your screen, you just click on more and then you'll see the caption section. Click on it and then select your preferred language. And indeed, most of what we are presenting today is going to be shared on your screen in terms of literature, words, so you'll be able to follow through. So before we start, I'll welcome all of us here to just share within the chat, write your name, where you're coming from or where you're logging in from in terms of your country, but also your organization, if you are interested to do so. So let's take a few seconds to do that. I'm glad that some colleagues have already done so, and we welcome Hannah Yahaya Lunga, welcome. Then we have Rabu Tobo, welcome. We have very many colleagues joining in. We have Daniel, we have so many, welcome. We are so happy to have you here and we look forward to having an interaction with you. Just to inform you that we'll have a Q&A segment at the end of this call. So in case you have any questions, you feel free to use the chat room where you can directly just chat with the panelists, but also with the other members. But directly for the questions, we have the Q&A section. Feel free to ask your question. And some of these questions will be responded to in a live manner by the panelists, but also the panelists will reach out to that question and respond to you directly. So let's utilize the Q&A section as much as possible for you not to lose out on any of your question in the chat box. But we are so happy, and thanks for those who have already introduced themselves. So in terms of today's agenda, we will talk much about the AU EU Youth Action Lab project program. If you'd like to know about this program in detail, today is the day you're going to hear from the panelists. Then we're also going to understand what are the representation grants, what do these grants, what is the meaning, first of all, of the representation grants, the objectives, and how do we envision this grant, especially the applicants who are going to apply for these grants. So we're going to have that segment and look forward to it. Then also one of our colleagues is going to talk about how to apply, because the call already went out last week. But most of us are asking ourselves how to apply, where to apply, and all that detail. We'll go through it. Then how to build a successful application. This, we're going to talk much about it. Also critically look into how to build a clear and strong budget. So look forward to that. And then the next steps. And like I mentioned, we'll have a Q&A section. So please, if you have your questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section, but also there will be that moment where we'll be asking you to open your mics and ask those questions directly to the panelists. So please permit me to invite Roberta to come and take us through, but to help us just understand what's the AU EU Youth Action Lab. Like I mentioned, most of us have questions, are wondering what this is all about. Is it a scam or not a scam? So we are clearing the air. And with that, I will come Roberta. Please, Roberta, come and take us through that.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and good morning to everyone. My name is Roberta Bojang. I'm German and Gambian. I'm currently in Kenya, but normally I'm based in Germany. And I'm very happy to give you a little bit of an oversight of what the AU EU Youth Action Lab is. Next slide, please. So The AU Youth Action Lab is a program by the African Union and the European Union, co-organized with Oxfam, Restless Development, and the European Youth Forum. We have 4 different grant types that range from 10,000 euros to 50,000 euros and have different scopes of interest. And the whole program lasts for 12 months of action, which means that you have a year to complete your program, but you also have a year of support coming your way to really implement your project properly. You will, for one, be supported through the digital collaboration platform called Power to Voices, which allows you to exchange with other chosen projects and also get in touch with the program leads. Then you will get capacity strengthening that will hopefully support you in being as successful as you can be. And if your project is chosen, you can also look forward to having a face-to-face event where you will meet the other project leaders in a link and learn environment. And then lastly, a big part of the Action Lab is the YAB, which is the Youth Advisory Board, which I'm also a part of. Next slide, please. So as I said, we have 4 different grant types. You joined the meeting for the representation grants, but just as a quick reminder, we also have the 3 other grant types, just in case you want to consider them as well. We have the cooperation grants. The purpose of them is to bring together youth organizations, one from Africa and one from Europe, to co-organize and co-develop a program together. This grant is for 50,000 euros and is organized by the European Youth Forum. Then we have the entrepreneurship grants. Those are to support enterprises and organizations that drive meaningful change. They will receive around 30,000 euros and it's coordinated by Oxfam. And then we have the innovation grants, which are about having the investment in very new ideas. If you have a youth organization and you want to try something that you haven't had the chance to try yet, you couldn't find funding because it's something that you've come up with, but you haven't implemented yet, then the innovation grant can be a good option for you. It's 30,000 to 40,000 euros and is also coordinated by Oxfam. And then we have the representation grants, which is what we will talk about in detail today. The idea of the representation grants is really to empower the voices of underrepresented young change makers. It's really like an opportunity to give a stage and power to people that normally have not received power before. And this grant has around 10,000 euros and is coordinated here by Restless Development. And before I pass on the word, I'll give you a bit of information around the Youth Action Lab Advisory Board, which I'm a part of. So I think an important thing for you guys to know is that from the beginning to the end, youth is involved in this program. So not to compliment ourselves so much, but we're often referred to as the heart of the program, which is a compliment I always like to take. And we're part of co-creating this funding mechanism, which means that in the preparation stages, we looked at the funding manuals. We were discussing how to make them as youth-friendly as possible. We looked through the website. We were part of the outreach. Some of you might have received invites or the information about this meeting today by us YAB members. And we're also the ones that decide on the final grant distribution, meaning that we will be reading your applications and hopefully we'll be able to bring the youth perspective in our choices. Yeah, so that's a big core part of this program, and I hope that I could give you some insights into that. And now I'll be passing on the word to Edmond to go a bit more into detail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Roberta. My name is Edmond Ayesogwa. I work with Restless Development, and I'll be speaking about just a continuation of what Roberta talked about and what she introduced about the program. So as the name of the program suggests, it is the Youth Action Lab. So this is us making sure that young people, the youth, are the ones in action. They are the change makers. So when you look at the governance structure of this program, 100% of the organization's governance is young people 18 to 35 years. Like Roberta said, there is a youth advisory board that is at the heart of the program, and 80% of the activity designers and implementers are young people 18 to 35, and therein is the principle of power shifting, because we are making sure that young people become part of the change that they want to see, that the power is in their hands to take on the action that they want to see in their society, and not just to be watchers, but active participants in the kind of change they want to see in their society. So for the people that will be applying, this is a principle that we follow, and these are the projects that will be funded by this cohort. So for the applicants, your project must be youth-led. 100% of the staff implementing the project must be 18 to 35 years. And like I said earlier, the reason we fund youth-led organizations is to give opportunities to young people to also be part of the change that they want to see in society, and not just sit back and watch policies and watch projects passing by that actually do affect them, but they do not have a say in those things. So the Youth Action Lab seeks to create opportunities, to create platforms, and to fund initiatives of young people to make sure that they can collaborate, co-create, and implement their own initiatives in Africa and in Europe. Back to you, Sarah.
Okay, thanks so much, Edmund, for taking us through what youth-led organizations mean in the context of the AU Youth Action Lab, and we look forward to receiving those applications from youth-led organizations that meet, this category as you've listed it below. Okay. So we would like to just hear from our participants here on the call, having heard from Edmund on what he shared about the youth-led organizations. We would like to hear from you whether you are a youth-led organization or no. So just take up the first question, which is, are you part of the youth-led organizations? Only the first question. Don't respond to any other question. Yes, thanks. Only the first question. Don't respond to the second. I see that some people are already attempting. Okay, according to how we stand now, we have, please don't attempt the second, don't attempt any other question. Oh my God, people have already attempted them. So are you part of a youth-led organization? So 45 of us are already commenting that they are youth-led organizations. 5 are stating that no. I mean, even if you're not, it's fine. You can really share this opportunity with youth organizations within your network, some of the partners you've worked with previously, but also potential partners. So feel free to share and also just be a part of this call so that you understand and you understand about the representation grants. And who knows, you could find someone within the corridors and you could easily pass on this information to them. Okay, thanks for the responses so far, especially those ones who have responded to only question 1. So with that, I will welcome the next presenter, who is Najma, to take us through the next segment. Najma, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and hi, everyone. So this is Najma Omari, and I'm a Youth Advisory Board member for the AU Youth Action Lab program. And we are very glad having you today, and I'm happy to take you through the representation grants info. Next slide, please. All right, so representation grants. So representation grants is one among the 4 grant modalities under the AU Youth Action Lab program. And with it, we are looking forward to to focus to projects that bring up voices of the underrepresented and marginalized youth to the decision-making spaces. And of course, we are looking forward to support initiatives that target at amplifying the voices of youth at different levels. And according to the AU Youth Action Lab program, our definition of marginalization refers to the initiatives that target to support youth groups representing hard-to-reach communities, the young women, and any other marginalized population that face barriers upon participating in different socioeconomic or political spheres. So we will prioritize initiatives that capacitate the hard-to-reach communities, the young women, and any other marginalized population that face barriers in either socio-economic or political spaces. And our priority areas for the representation grants falls on projects that challenge discrimination acts and promote inclusion. So inclusion is the key to it. We'll also prioritize initiatives that build advocacy, coalition, and networks. That is to say, the projects that strengthens the advocacy efforts of youth. We also support youth groups that represent the hard-to-reach communities. So as I said, our priority falls on the underrepresented and marginalized young people. So any project that aims at capacitating, airing out the priorities of youth, the youth perspectives to the decision-making tables or to the policy levels, that's of our interest. We will also look upon projects that aims at capacity building and research. And with research, we refer to the investigative researches that focus on airing out the voices, the perspectives, and bringing upon the priorities of the underrepresented youth to the policy levels and decision-making tables. We are also looking forward to support initiatives that empower marginalized group of young people and projects which show sustainability bit on it. So we are looking forward to grant proposals that will show that they can proceed beyond the funding period. That is showing the sustainability impact of your works. Yeah, so next slide. So with this call, the representation grants focus areas, we are focused in 12 African countries. So this is the coverage of the program. And I'll just quickly read through the countries of priorities. So we are going to grant projects that are coming from the following countries. That includes Ethiopia, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, including the Somaliland, Tanzania, Tunisia, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And for this call, the grant size is 10,000 euros. So please set your budget at 10,000 euros. And I would advise that you could please visit our website and check through the funding manuals so that you can best select the grant of your interest. Since it's known that we are having 4 grant modalities and one can only apply to a single grant type at a time. So please be aware of the grant that you have selected. Be sure that it matches your project intentions and ideas. Thank you so much. I'll hand the mic over to Mr. Titus.
Thank you very much, Omari. I am called Epudu George Titus. I work as a monitoring, evaluation, and learning coordinator with Restless Government here at Uganda, Kampala. And thank you so much, Omari, for giving us already a hint on the focus areas of the way we would want people to design activities. So when we're talking about types of activities, we're actually just highlighting to you how should your activities look like? And first, we're talking about that your activities can consider diversity in whatever you would be doing up in your write-up. However, you should make sure that they are building into each other. And so your activities may take different kind of forms. However, that might depend on the context of the country, of the place that you are in, of where you're actually trying to kind of create an idea from, the people involved, the goals of that project, and therefore you should be able to describe activities and how you intend to actually implement them. What should be key is that they should all be linked to objectives that finally contribute to your overall goal. And of course, the young people are the heart of whatever we do. As Edmond has already mentioned it. Then definitely, as we had talked about this, is that there is no fixed formula. Feel free on how you should be able to design your activities to the way it fits best to your project, as long as it shows clearly how they contribute to your representation action. That's where we are more and more focused to. However, we are trying to say, please make sure that you avoid some of the projects that may have a lot of intersectionality approach. For example, the project on climate, or the project on health or gender or education. So intersectionality, what we mean is that usually it might be very difficult when you're talking about education project. That's very broad, quite very, very broad. But you may want to pick out just an issue. For example, you may be saying want to pick out an issue, maybe advocacy of the young peoples who are facing sexual and reproductive health issues in some school. So that speaks on an aspect. But when you talk about, we are looking at in terms of advocating on health, oh, wow. Health in which area? Health will be quite enormous, and that will give us a bit of difficulty in understanding what you look forward to achieve. Let me re-emphasize in terms of connectivity of your activity. For example, you may do a research, and that research maybe is based on maybe like if you want to understand what could be the challenges the young people are facing in relation to use of maybe menstrual cycle, maybe pads or something, you do the research in that. And then later on, you're coming out to the brief. You're coming out to the research brief. This research brief now comes in with the targeting the specific one, and then looks at which kind of actions that we want to generate from there, and then look for a consultative meeting where you want to bring people together and present that. So you find that one links to the other. So that's what we're talking about. They should be able to link to each other. Okay, I hope that's quite very clear to us all. Next. All right, so in terms of a bit of the criteria, just to hint on just in terms of the criteria of what you should do in order to make sure that you are successful in applying for the representation grants. One, we emphasize that your organization, the CBO, whatever, should have very, very clear mission. And then people had already talked about it, as Edman had already highlighted to you that the organization must be youth-led. Everything is at the heart. One, we look at it as what is the governance structure looks like. Does it have people aged between 18 to 35? The governance structure, as you know, those that are actually leading in running the organization. So at least we are looking at that. That should be a good percentage of it should be young people. Then now when we talk about must be youth-led, meaning now we come to your staff, the one that you're working with, should all be aged between 18 to 35. And then the other thing that we are looking at, of course, that you should be formally registered in the country. In Uganda here, we'll be talking about a sub-county. The kind should be having that clear registration status, the certificate, and then you have a bank account and a clear governance structure. And then, of course, we should be having a very clear location that already Omaria talked about, that this should be located in one of the 12 African countries that she read to us. And then we should be activities should be taking place in any of them, okay? The organization should have a very passionate link with the young people across Africa and Europe to exchange and learn from some of the activities and results. For example, through participating in the Youth Actions Lab digital platform and annual learning events. So what we are saying, there are some activities that are conveners that bring the these young people together. So at a certain point, you'll find that they'll be taking you through that when you're working on a budget or whatever, there are some specific budget lines that they'll tell you to spare for purposes of issues to do with the annual learning events or those that bring us into link and learning. And then you should be eager to engage in a genuine cross-continental partnership with all organizations, contributing and learning, sharing insights, and that's the same what we talked about, okay? And so finally, we say that your youth leadership is at the center of your action. And so just to repeat again what Omari was talking about, that with this in overall, the target should be the underrepresented and marginalized young people with the aim of actually empowering them. So we want to make sure that clearly comes out. So I would want to say thank you at this point, and over to the next presenter.
Okay, thanks so much, Titus, for taking us through that segment. I hope it's giving us a bit of clarity about the grant, where it's being implemented, where it should be implemented, and all the nitty-gritty. So we have just a question here about what interests you most about this grant. So feel free to share in the chat, having heard from Roberta, and then Edmund to Najma, and then Titus. You add in the chat what interests you most about this grant. We look forward to reading some of the interests that you have about this grant. Okay, we are waiting for your comments in the chat. What interests you most about the grant? Okay, and you can feel free to add a bit of beef onto it, so that then we are able to know actually the areas of interest that you have. Salome said they are innovative, flexible. Yes, indeed, they are flexible, and that calls for the innovation. What interests me most is that they are for youth-led organizations. Thank you. Meaningful youth engagement. They focus on youth, innovative on bringing youth, because it's youth-specific. Thanks for that. They focus on young people. I think overall, the bit about youth-led and being for young people is coming out strongly. Then they target young people, and they're inclusive. Help new graduate students to implement their own projects under the supervision in terms of conceptualization and implementation. Great. But those graduates should be part of youth-led organizations. They amplify grassroots youth voices and sustainable. Then the grants really bring out meaningful participation elements, since they are since it's at the core. Great. Thank you very much for the responses so far. We appreciate that, and let's continue having this conversation. These are for youth, and youth are known to be vibrant, engaging, participatory in nature. So with that, please let's proceed with the webinar, and I would like to invite my colleague Timothy to take us through the next segment. Timothy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And my name is Timothy Oboth. I work with Restless Development as a program manager. Just like Sarah said, I will be taking you through how to apply for this grant using the OnGrip platform. I don't know, at this point, I would really want to ask how many of you in this call are familiar with the OnGrip system? Who of you has ever heard about OnGrip? Just by show of hands, if you're able to. Yes, I see Oseni has raised his hand, 3 people, 4 people. Yeah, that's quite impressive. Yes, I believe that others have also come across the OnGrip system, but perhaps you've not been able to raise your hand. Okay, so just to say something little or brief about the OnGrip system, it is a software designed to make grant management much easier. And so just like any other, IT system. Grant management also has systems that make the grant management process much easier. So OnGrip is one of them, and it is what we are using to manage the grants. And Oxfam is actually is the one in charge of the OnGrip system. And so your applications that you'll be submitting directly in the OnGrip system. And also the review process is done through the system, and including other processes. So that is the system that we are using. And right now, I'm happy to take you through how to use this system, but more specifically, how to apply using the OnGrip system. Sarah, if you could go back to the slide so that I'm able to speak to what members are looking at. Great. Thank you. So as Sarah is trying to get back to that slide, one clear process that you need to undertake as you start your application process is that you have to register. So you cannot access the application form until you complete registration. And right now, I would want to take you through the registration process. Let me share my screen. Okay, so just like I said,
Timothy, can you just put it in the slideshow?
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Great. Yes, so before you go ahead to apply, you have to register. And for you to register, you have to click on this link. I believe all of you are seeing that link. So that link will take you to the website. Just allow me run very quickly and take you through that process, run you through the process of what appears after clicking on that screen, on that link, sorry. So this is what appears as soon as you click on that link, the one you saw on the slide. So once you click on that, you're going to find something that looks like this. Sorry, I have so many moving objects.
No, it's fine. We can see it very well.
Okay, great. So this is, once you click on the other link, it takes you directly to the program website and specifically to the page that speaks about the representation grant. And in there, you're going to see, call for proposals, how to apply. And at this point, if you haven't yet read the funding manual, then you have an opportunity to read it. You just have to click on this link, written funding manual. There is one in English, then one in Portuguese, and then the next one in French. So click in there, and then you'll be able to read all details about this grant in the funding manual. And of course, if you're also not sure of the eligibility criteria, the funding manual clearly shows the eligibility criteria. We also have a budget template. Yeah, this is where you can find the budget template. You click on this link, and then it will give you the budget template. At a later time, we are going to talk about the budget, skills and tips on how to make a strong budget, but also how to fill the budget. But for now, I want to concentrate on how to apply for this grant. So as you can see at the bottom here, the very first box on your left, it has apply now. So once you click on that icon, apply now, it will quickly move you to the registration form. And in the registration form, you will get background information and introductory information that speaks about the representation grant, just to give you a last minute option again to see whether this is the grant that you would want to apply for or not. So it gives you quick details, what is the grant focusing on, like Najuma mentioned, and so on and so forth. But at the bottom of this page, it has next page. So once you're clear up to that point, then you click on next page. As soon as you do that, it will take you to eligibility criteria at this point. So it has about 7 questions. Please read these questions carefully, one at a time. The answers are either yes or no. So depending on the answer that you have in each of the questions, you click on either yes or no. You do that for all the 7 questions. And at the bottom of that page, it has 2 provisions, either previous page if you want to go back to the previous page, or next page if you want to move forward. So if you're okay up to this level and you want to move to the next page, you click next page. And then it will quickly move you to the registration, to the part that you're expected to write the name of your organization, the address of your organization, and then you select the country that you're applying from or you're based in, and then also the email. I want to speak a little more about this email. This is a very, very important email. The email that you're going to put here is the one that the application form is going to be sent to. So please be careful. Make sure that the email that you place here is the one that you regularly use, but also you have its password, because this, once you register once, that is it. And once they send for you that application form, it will have your account, but also it will give you access to the application form. So that email, make sure that it is the one that you use on a regular basis. So again, after entering that, you'll click next page. Now the next page has consent. Now this is just to seek your consent in terms of, this consent simply explains how this information that you're providing is going to be used. And of course, it states that the information that you provide is going to be used only for purposes of this grant, and no one else will access it. So that is around issues of copyright and protection. So if your consent is yes, then you submit. And once you're done with submission, then immediately an email will come to your inbox, and it will say, thank you for your registration. You will receive an email. On that email with account details and a link to complete your application. And once you click on that link, this is how your application form will appear to you. And this is where you will now need to fill in all the details about your project. So make sure you fill this template extremely clear and very well. So when you're satisfied with filling the application form, you will have to submit it back in the OnGrip system. So that is, in brief, that is the application process using the OnGrip system. So I would like to invite my colleague Roberta to take us through some of the successful ways of writing your application. Over to you, Roberta.
Thank you very much. I'll just wait till we're back on the normal slides.
Okay, thanks. Let me share so that we proceed. Just a second. Okay, almost there. Cool, go for it.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I'm going to go a bit more in detail on how you can build a very successful application. And we have some pointers marked down for you. So number 1 is context, problem statement, and rationale. One thing that's very important for you to remember is that most likely someone will be reading your application that's not from your country and doesn't know your local context. So it's very important that you explain to us, what is the situation where you live? Why is this problem that you've identified something that you want to solve? And why is this marginalized group a marginalized group in your community? Because these kind of things can really differ from country to country. So it's best to give more details rather than too little, to ensure that us as people reading the applications know what the context is. Secondly, then comes the brief description of project goal, objectives, and activities. Here, it makes a lot of sense to directly connect the problem statement and the context to your project goal and also the objectives and activities that you're planning to do, just to have a red line in the application. Then we have the description of monitoring and evaluation processes of the project. One thing that's very important to us is to know how you will hold yourself accountable and how you will follow your own successes to ensure that your program is achieving the goals that you set out to have. Then we have the project sustainability on young people. So a big component for us is that we hope that the project has a long-term impact on people in the community that you live in. So we would like to hear from you how you aim to achieve that. Then describe how you plan to continue your project after the project grant ends. This is also a very big component. So we hope that you, after the grant cycle ends, will continue your activities and find other pathways for funding. So it would be important to hear what your plans are for that. And then lastly, show us that you have the capacity to implement the project. This can differ from organizations to organizations. Some of you might have a lot of experience with funding. Some might be new to these kind of things, and that's okay too. But it's important to then explain to us why you think you're still capable of implementing the project with the capacities that you have. And lastly, one really, really big important factor is that your application really needs to show that it's targeting underrepresented or marginalized young people. So if you plan a nice, interesting project on something that is very broad, general climate training, we will not be able to give you the funding unless you specifically tell us why a specific underrepresented group would benefit from the training, and be as honest about this as possible. Just as an example, when reviewing last time, sometimes we would have people just list every marginalized group that exists. So they would say people with disabilities can attend, women can attend, ethnic minorities can attend, but it needs to be assured that the focus of the program is a marginalized group. So it's best to focus and tell us exactly who it is and why. And now I'm happy to pass on the word to someone who has actually successfully received the grant last time. I think this is probably the best insight to have, because her application worked really well. And yeah, she will share some more details on how her experience went. And I'll pass the word to Eva.
Thank you, Roberta. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ewa Orwale. I'm from Mayen, a nonprofit organization here in Nigeria. So what exactly made my application strong? I think one of the first things, I'm going to build up on what Roberta said earlier, or lastly, which was that we ensured when I was applying, I mentioned who the key beneficiary, who the target beneficiary was going to be, and why we were reaching out to them. So it was very specific. I made it clear who I was reaching out to, who was the target beneficiary, and why were we targeting them, or what were the gaps that we had identified. And of course, we did this with data that we had. We did this from past experiences. We had heard directly from some of those proposed or prospective beneficiaries that we wanted to address. So we contextualized what was the context in Nigeria for us as an organization. In my community, was it a problem of girls couldn't access something, or was it women I was targeting, or people living with disabilities? So I mentioned who the specific target beneficiary was and why I was targeting them, again, backed up with data. One of the other things that I would say that really stood out, that made us really stand out, or our application really stand out, was I had a unique selling point. So my particular project had something that made us stand out from every other person or every other application. So for one, there are 1,000,001 youth development initiatives and projects, right? So what exactly is that thing that is going to make all the difference? Why is your initiative or your intervention the better solution, or the solution that the Youth Action Lab should go for? So that was something that we also mentioned in our application, in the proposal that we sent out. And then I sent in my proposal as well, there was a very detailed work plan. So the work plan that we attached was broken down into activities, into tasks, into all of the steps, from getting applications, from applying for approvals from maybe communities or schools, right, down to the M&E plan. Every single thing, it was broken down into the 12 months. So from month 1 all the way to month 12, what exactly were we going to be doing and how were we going to be carrying out all of these activities. So we had a very structured 12 months plan that was included in the proposal that was shared. And then another thing that I would say that I did that really made the application stand out was the M&E. So for monitoring and evaluation, we had a very simple but very effective plan that was shared. How were we going to track the progress across those 12 months? What exactly were the steps? What assessment tests were we going to be administering to ensure that we could track progress and track impact as well? So that was also included. And then another thing that I would say that we really did was the budget, right? So we ensured that we didn't necessarily go overboard with the budget. So we had to make it clear, quite frankly, there are 1,000,001 issues, right? So, but you have to stick to the one that you feel like this particular fund can solve. And so when we were applying in the budget, we ensured that the budget was in tandem with our work plan. So we didn't go overboard to say, oh, after the project or in doing this, we were going to ensure that 100 schoolgirls or 100 women would have this. It was very specific and it was very in tune. It was tailored to the work plan that had been drafted that we drew up. So there was a budget alignment. And then lastly, another thing that I would say was that we mentioned and identified the risks. So we were very transparent, which is very important. We identified the risks that could come up. So from, getting delayed, maybe our approvals might be delayed, to being blocked by gatekeepers in the communities when you're trying to access your marginalized group or your target beneficiaries, right? What are the gatekeepers? What are the steps that might be delayed in all of that? We mentioned all of these risks, including things like school closures, or there might even be security issues. I don't know if anybody has been following the current news in Nigeria over the past 1 week. We have security issues, right? So all of these things were mentioned. And then we also mentioned mitigation strategies. What exactly were we going to be doing to ensure that we could mitigate these risks and manage these risks? For one, we had talked about safeguarding, which is very important. We also mentioned that our project was going to be adaptable. So that was included in the proposal that we submitted. How are we going to adapt it in cases of school closures or in cases of maybe the gatekeepers blocking us out, right? That was another thing that we mentioned. How are we going to engage? What were we going to do? Also, maybe we would engage the community leaders or the gatekeepers early enough so that we had community buy-in, and then we would train facilitators, whatever it is. So those were things that we included. We ensured that the project was scalable. So for us as an organization, and specifically for that project, we weren't just looking at the grant for a period of 12 months, because the money will finish, quite frankly. One of the things that we were looking at was how exactly will we ensure that the project continues even after the grant has finished or after you finish your grant period. So we figured out a way, and it was clearly stated and included in the proposal that it was going to be scalable. How were we going to scale? What were the steps that we were going to take to ensure that it was scalable? So skills transfers, for one, we pass on the skills that we were training our project or target beneficiaries in. And then I already mentioned community buy-in, community ownership, which was another thing. And I think, I don't know if I still have some more time, but I think it might be okay to just stop here. Let me also just add that it's also important to include data. So data is one thing that always helps or builds up your case. So if you're applying for something and nobody understands what you're doing, you need to include the data, the statistics, why are these people marginalized, or what exactly categorizes them as a marginalized group. So you need to ensure that you have the proper data and the statistics, you show numbers. So that was basically all that we did. I'm going to pass the mic back to you, Sarah. Thank you very much, and all the best, everyone.
Thank you so much, Eva. I think it's always really helpful to hear from someone who has done the things that you want to do. So here are some last very important tips that I would like to share with you before giving the word further away. So one thing that's very, very important is pay attention to the compulsory fields and word limits. The different boxes will tell you how much you're expected to write. So just be aware, some of them expect longer answers, some expect shorter answers. Upload all the required documents. This is very, very important because it would be a shame if you read an amazing application, but then we cannot consider you because something is missing. So please double check whether you have added everything to the files. Include any relevant policies and supporting information. So feel free to overshare and let us know anything that you think we need to know that makes you eligible for this or even makes you stand out for this grant. Double check that everything is properly uploaded before clicking submit. Then, very important to note, you can't edit your application after it has been submitted. So really, really make sure that you're done with it before sending send, because you cannot take it back and you cannot make edits. And then lastly, this is more of a personal tip, but avoid last minute submissions. If you do things very close to the deadline, it's easier to make mistakes or forget important information along the way. And we would like to avoid that, of course. So please be aware of this and start as early as possible. And now I will give the word back to Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Roberta, for those tips. I hope we are getting more grounded and feeling great about it. So we are going to just we would like to just check in with you again about how you're feeling, how you're doing, and okay, I just want to close this and then have the other. Okay, so remember I told you that actually don't respond to another question. So the question, which is untitled question, really responds to sorry. Okay. Stop here. Okay. Okay, anyway, so let's proceed to another participant. I see so many people have put their hands up, but before we come to your hands, feel free, in the meantime, you feel free to drop some of the questions already in the chat. We are going to start responding to them, but also some of the questions we are taking note of them and respond to them in a live manner. But before we get, before we get now into the questions, allow me to invite Sheikh. Sheikh is also a Youth Advisory Board member on the Youth Action Lab to take us through budgeting. I know budgeting is a very, very crucial element of during the application process. So it's important that we pay keen attention to all segments around budgeting. And so with that, welcome Sheikh to take us through that.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Sheikh Ahmed Sise, and I'm currently serving as a member of the Youth Advisory Board for the AU Youth Action Lab project, and I'm representing Sierra Leone. So I'll just be brief, I'll go straight to the point. So basically, to make work simple for you, there's a template that has been attached, just like my colleague mentioned, Timothy. So it makes the work simple for you. So you just have to input your details in the template provided. So some of the tips, of course, you have been given a template, and also budget is been written in euros. And as well, we understand that you're going to spend with your local currency. So we advise that you use the exchange rate to convert it to your local currency and then to euros. Also, again, in the area of your salaries and overheads has to do with administrative expenses. So it's flexible, but just know also there is no strict limit on how much you can pay staff or cover admin costs. But you need to be reasonable and explain why those amounts make sense to you. And again, also another tip again for you on the budget is to ensure that you link every expense to the project activities, to your project activities. Ensure that whatever thing you mentioned in your budget should be linked to every activities of the project. Again, we don't want you to add any random cost, you should note that everything must connect directly to what you are doing in the project and match your work plan. Also, again, there is a mandatory item. 5% of the budget should go to capacity building on your project or whatever thing you are planning to do. And also, again, you should budget for the Link and Learn events, just like Timothy mentioned. The Link and Learn event, you should as well budget for that one, for at least one person to attend. Again, for any budget, you should ensure to be clear and be consistent. So don't assume as reviewers that there are things we should know. We don't make those assumptions. Just go through your budget and make sure everything is detailed and explained very well. So again, what we advised is that you use the same language in your budget as the ones you used in your work plan or the application, because you can't just use something from one type of language in your application and another in the budget.
Oh, sorry, we are losing out on Sheikh. So I will welcome Timothy to step in.
Difficult for you to just go through that. So in short,
Sheikh, we can hardly hear you, so I'd request that Timothy comes through to wrap up this, and then we proceed with the next segment.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, and thank you, Sheikh. Sorry that your network has disrupted your presentation, but just to allow me continue. Yes, so Sheikh was trying to take us through some of the guidelines, and just to start from, ensuring that all expenses must directly be linked to the project activities. I think this is really key, as you heard from Ewa. Ewa is the grantee that was really successful. When reviewing her application, everything was well aligned. You go to activities, they speak to the budget. You go to the work plan, they speak to the budget. And that was really, really amazing. And I would really love to, for the interest of time, to go straight and show you the template itself, so that we can run through very quickly on some of the key things in the template that you need to take care of while developing your budget. So I believe you're able to see my screen and you're able to see the template. Yes, so this is how the budget template looks like. It's a very simple budget for you to be able to fill without any challenge. So the very first top of the budget, that is from row 1 to row 7, it has details of your project and rather details of your organization at the project period. So you write the name of the organization, country, period, project period, the currency, grant type, amount requested for, and then the project name. Now, the most important thing that I would want to emphasize at this moment is that please read the instructions. These instructions are very clear, and make sure you understand them before you even go ahead to populate this budget. And after reading the instructions, also study this template. Look at what is in which column and what is the title for each of those columns. Once you've understood and you're now clear of what is required in this template, that is when you go ahead to fill it. For instance, if I go to the instructions, here they are saying, and you'll see it on your end, that yellow lines are the examples. Remove the examples when filling in your budget. Sometimes people go ahead, enter their budget below the examples. That will definitely give you a double, you'll budget beyond, because then these are just examples, and if you add yours on top of this example, it will be misleading. Okay, so you replace them at the time when you're filling your budget template. And then please fill in the description, stock activities, then select from the drop-down button, and that is what I would want to show you practically. For instance, the column for filling in your description is right here. If you can see, this is column A. So here is where you put your activities. If it is program activity, for instance, here you see foundation training. The next column is, which is B, is for cost category. And in here is where we have the drop down button. So you drop down, you drop it, you click on the left, you'll see an arrow that prompts you to select from the drop down. And since this is an activity budget, so please select activity cost, so that on our side, we'll know that the cost categories for activity are amounting to this. Cost categories for personnel, or salaries or overheads are amounting to this amount. That is how we want you to organize and structure your budget. Then we have a number of items. Yes, so for instance, if you're going to have trainings, how many trainings are you going to have? So you put there the quantity, which is number of items. Then the cost. So you might have to of course do background calculations and know how much unit cost it will take for you to have this training, and then what type of cost item is this? Are you costing for venue? Are you costing for a meal and so on? This is where you put it under column E. And then now we have the total budget. And again, I want to emphasize here that please feel free to do your budget in local currency, especially the currency that you're going to use for implementing. So if it is local currency, for instance, if you're in Uganda, we have the Ugandan shillings. If you're in Kenya, we have the Kenyan shillings. If you're in Nigeria, you have the Naira. So the first, between column C and F, you can use your local currency. Then column G, please convert and put your exchange rate in column G, and make sure you convert it to euros, because at the end of the day, when we are evaluating these budgets, we are not going to so much look into the local currency, but we shall follow the currency of this grant, which is euros. So make sure your local currency is converted into euros, which is column H. And the most important column is column I. Every budget line should have remarks or narrative, or what other people call budget notes. I will use the first example under row 12. If it is a training, as you can see, it is here. Please, in the notes, make sure that you go into details. The training of 29 gender champions for 3 days in Jinja district. You see how these notes are very clear. Ewa mentioned how her budget was very clear. And so we would also want to see your budget having notes clearly explaining what this cost is going to do and what the activity is going to do. And so if you populate it very well in that order, this template already has a formula embedded inside, as you can see. Please do not attempt to remove these formulas, because it's going to give you a wrong figure in total. And then secondly, if you want to add a line, just, pick space, like you see column 11, and then right click and say insert. Insert it from the middle. If you insert it from the middle and you enter something, let's say you've entered another activity, another training activity, and maybe you enter every detail in that form. Remember that when it comes to the budgeting section here, there is no formula. So make sure you enter the formula there so that it can pick uniformly and add it here. Okay. Yes, so we will be around to guide you on how to manage the budget, but I just wanted to show you how to add a column and perhaps how to delete if you really want to delete. Just to be in the middle. Do not come and add a column perhaps after the total here. It will mislead you at the end of the day. Yes, then I want to explain the next tab. The next tab is budget summary. Now the budget summary, this one here, it automatically populates itself. You don't have to do anything here, okay? Because the formulas have been linked to this other detailed budget. So for you, all you need to do, work on this other one, while the budget summary automatically populates itself. You don't have to do anything on it. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to share with the team on that. So let us go back to the main slides. Sarah, just help us put on the main slide so that we can move.
Yes, sure. Thanks. Proceed.
Great. So as I proceed, as I summarize, I just want to speak about some of the common budget mistakes to avoid. Please don't submit costs without justification. I already said that the justification column is where we said you're going to put your budget notes, you're going to put your narrations, and so forth. That is very, very important. Take time and provide the right explanation. Then 2, don't use vague budget lines. And what we mean by that is we are asking you to be very specific. If it is a training, please let it be a training. So instead of just saying training course, explain what the training is. It is a 2-day training targeting champions or advocacy champions that will take place in such and such a place. Let it be that clear and specific. And the example we are giving here is trainer's fee for 3 days workshop on digital skills. I think that's very precise and clear. Then also don't include ineligible expenses. What we mean by that is please review all the guidelines in the template to see what can and cannot be funded. For instance, your project is about organizing coalitions, young people in form of coalitions to advocate for a certain policy in your country. And then we are seeing a budget line that is talking about buying animals. Surely, buying an animal is not in any way linked with advocacy. That one will certainly be considered as ineligible cost. Then don't submit a budget that exceeds the funding limit. I love the way Ewa gave an example that they were very strict. They really kept within the budget limit. That is important. We have said 10,000 euros. You're submitting your budget with 15,000 euros. I'm sure the committee will not have a lot of time to attend to the rest of your application. And then finally, last but not least, don't wait until the last minute. This is really important. Always allow yourself time to be able to check whether the formula is correct, the calculations are accurate, the budget activities are aligned with the work plan, and other things. That is really key before you can submit. Yes, Sarah. Let's move on.
Okay, thanks so much, Timothy. So we'll again just check in. It's always good to check in with whoever is on the call. How comfortable do you feel about applying now, having gone through those different steps? So kindly drop a comment in the chat on how comfortable you feel. It's okay even if you don't feel yet ready. I mean, this is really just an information webinar, and some of us perhaps already logged in even before reading the entire application form or even the funding manual. Okay, thank you. Yahaya, you've already put very comfortable. Hagen, ready. Imka, very ready. Nancy, satisfying. Then Chipo, very much ready. Thank you. Good to go. Very ready. Confident, Winfred. Wow, wow, wow. Thanks for the feedback so far. We're excited that we're really making you ready for the application stage, for the application process. And like we mentioned, take time, read the funding manual very well, understand whether you're eligible or not, and then shape your application like how Ewa was able to, or how Ewa alluded to it. So please let someone create a WhatsApp group so that we can connect. Okay, interesting. From Sierra Leone, Sheikh is here. He talked about the budgeting process. Cool. We'll proceed as we wind up and at this point we are inviting anyone with any questions. So we welcome. Sorry. Oh my God. Okay, so we're welcoming anyone who has any questions. Please feel free to put up your hand and then we will pick on those hands. Okay, I can see, I think someone's hand was up like from the word go. So we are getting there, and then we will start off the discussion. The panelists are here and they'll respond to your questions. We'll start with Charles. Charles, please ask your question. And then when Charles is done, we'll get to Ellie.
Good day, everybody. My name is Charles from Nigeria. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Charles.
So, my question is regarding the budgeting, because I think when I went through like the process of budgeting, I think we are told to like have a budget place for, like, if you have been selected, like 2 of your team members will be traveling down to a particular country in Africa. So the question I want to ask is, when we're budgeting our normal budget, like the budget we're supposed to submit, are we going to set a place for that particular what's it called, Africa Summit in that same budget? That's all.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. And Najma has noted that she will respond to that question about the Link and Learn event. And is this supposed to be part of the budgeting? I'd selected Ellie, but Ellie is off. I can't see him anymore. So let's have Umar.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, Umar, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. Good day. Regarding the budget format, I feel I need more explanation on one sentence, which says, make sure you have budgeted for the mandatory costs like capacity building 5%, and Link and Learn event, in bracket 1 representative. So I need more explanation because I don't get this line or section clearly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Umar is asking about the mandatory lines within the budget that have budgeted for, and Timothy will throw more light onto that. So I'm asking Enoch, is ready to speak?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Enoch, in just 30 seconds, we are almost
Yes,
running out of time.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Enoch Kisawire from Highslink, Uganda. My question was also about the mandatory budget, about the Link and Learning. However, also, I wanted the composition of a youth-led organization. For example, just to be clear, here on management where I am, we have 1 on the management of 3, 2 above the 35. Then the remaining staff implementation, the rest are youth below 35, and 1 who's a project officer above 35. Are we still within the guideline to apply? Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Timothy has taken note of that about the composition of staff members. Yes, for this grant, but also for the program implementation. So we'll respond to that. Thank you, Enoch, for the question. Next, let's hear from Samuel Smart. Samuel?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, could you try to speak louder?
Yeah, okay. Are you getting me now?
A bit.
Okay. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is morning. So good morning. Thank you very much for this session, really. But my question is on the area of AI. So I want to know the guidelines and rules in us using AI to apply. If we need to use AI or some part of it, but I want to know if there's a state tool for it so that we can also, because I'm a colleague, I want us to sit down and do it, but he's asking about that one. So I really need an answer for this one.
Okay, thanks. Samuel is asking about AI. Interesting. So we'll Titus. Please take note of that and you respond to Samuel about the use of AI. Okay, let's have Ellie. Ellie, hope you can speak now. Ellie, I see your hand is up. Can you speak?
Yes, greetings everyone. And I think now I'm all very audible. I am Eli Oyugi from Kenya and working with Greenland Youth Network Kenya, community-based organization. So mine is very simple because we are running out of time at the same time. Or was just asking if for us as an organization currently, we are currently forging a strategic alliance with the global partners and the cross-cutting partners within the country. Are we allowed to highlight some of the climate stories that we are yet to roll out in line with the Living Lab? That is our key approach. So are we supposed to loop in our organization in terms of implementation structures and the whole scope of it? So maybe a clarity will be very helpful.
Okay, thanks, Ellie. You would like to share some of the activities that you've already done and some of those that you are anticipating to do during the application stage. So Roberta has taken note of that, and she'll respond to you about how you position yourself, even with the kind of work that you're doing and what you anticipate to do. Okay, Sabino, let's have you go through.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I have just one question. My project is new, and I want to know if we accept a new project.
Sorry, we can't hear you well. Can you go over it again and a bit louder this time round?
I don't understand. I'm from Angola. My English is not very good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you can speak slowly for I understand it, I'd be great.
Okay, thanks. So Sabino, I was saying that we didn't hear you. We didn't hear the question that you had asked earlier. So if you can just pardon us by asking that question again, so that we are able to respond to you. Also, you can actually just write the question in the Q&A section so that we respond to it.
Sarah understood his question. He
Okay.
was just asking whether new projects can be started with this grant or if they have to existed before.
Okay, so Roberta is going to respond to that as well. Thanks. And thank you, Roberta, for that. Okay, let's have Upendo Joel. Upendo Joel. Hi, Joel. Are you able to
Hello.
speak?
Yes, now I can speak.
Yes.
Hope you can hear me. So thank you for this session. This is very nice and helpful. I would like to ask if it will be possible for the one who record the sessions to share for us in our email, because to go through with the tips nicely. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll send through the recording. The recording will be uploaded on the website, so you can have access to this session. And yeah,
Okay.
you'll go through, also look at some of the documents that Timothy showed us and how to navigate through. So that is possible. Okay,
Thank you.
I think we'll go to the last person, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Akinyi. Elizabeth, are you able to speak?
Hello,
Yes, please.
I am Michael Mandala Bangura. Um, so first of all, I want to say I'm sorry for creating a WhatsApp group without your permission, but it's for us to connect as young people. And my question is, I want to know if my organization is based is a community-based organization, which is based in the province of Sierra Leone. So I want to know if we are qualified to apply for these grants, these representative grants.
Okay, thanks for that. We have two hands, so let's give them the opportunity to speak. Botras Rabutobo, and then when Botras is done, we'll hear from Muktak Adam. Botras Rabutobo, are you able to speak? Okay, let's hear from Adam.
Hello.
Yes,
Can you
Adam.
hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the information about this grant. So our organization is based in Borno State, Maiduguri, Nigeria. So we work around climate change and education. So I want to know whether we are eligible to apply. So we want to advocate in the area of climate justice. So my second question lies on the template. Have you provided any template for the applicant to fill during this process of application? Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much for those questions, and I'll ask Ewa, yes, to respond to those two questions about your area of focus, and then if we provided any templates. Okay, so like I mentioned, we will have the panelists come through and respond to the questions. So let me start with Roberta. Then after Roberta, we'll have Najma.
Yes, of course. So the first question I received was by Eli around presenting partners the implementation structures and activities. So I would generally advise you to focus on answering the questions that are in the template. You can always use examples of successful projects that you've done in the past, or also the partners that you've worked with. But I would recommend for you to focus primarily on what you're applying for. So just listing all of your partners is not necessarily helpful for us in the review. If you think there's a specific project that you implemented with someone that you would like to emphasize, and of course you can do that, that's no problem. And for the question around whether new projects can be implemented, yes, of course. So if you have a youth organization and you want to start a new project for a specific marginalized group in Mozambique, then of course you can do that. You don't have to have already started with the project. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Najma?
Thank you, Sarah. So regarding to the linked and learning event, so the linked and learning event, it's a component that offers exchange learning among the grantees, and it's set to take place in any of the 12 program countries. And therefore, you should include it in your budget and provide justifiable and estimated cost for a single representative from your organization. So you should use the farthest country from where you're based at as a reference point. So that's it. I hope I'm clear. I've said it.
Yes, we've been clear. Let's now hear from Ewa about the two questions that we posed to you.
Thank you, Sarah. So I have just the one about the climate change for the organization in Nigeria that is focusing on climate change. I believe that, yes, you can apply. You are eligible to apply. All you have to do is work on your proposal and ensure that your application is in line with everything that we have said. Climate change is something that affects everyone all over the world, and more so in Nigeria, right? So how do you tailor your proposal to address what are the challenges that you've identified or the gaps that you have identified? Once you can drop a concept document and then prepare your work plan, I think, yes, you are eligible to apply, and I'm sure that the reviewers will check it out and then give you a response.
Okay, thanks so much. Ewa, the other question was around whether we have templates that the applicants can use. Yes, the templates are available, and what Timothy was perhaps I think that you joined in a bit late. So some of the templates that we've been going through have been provided on the ON group. So visit the AUEU Youth Action Lab website. One of us is going to drop it in the chat, and then check out for representation grants, and then critically read the funding manual for you to be able to see those templates and respond or apply accordingly. Let's have Timothy.
Thank you, Sarah. However, I will request that you help me just remind me about the question that Enoch asked, because I came in, I had a challenge with connection. So I came in when I was talking about link and learn. I'm not so sure whether this was responded to, and I didn't get the exact question about
So the
link
team
and
really
learn.
wanted to know what are these mandatory courses that have to be added into the budget, and also he just wanted to know more about the link and learn. It seemed a bit abstract to him.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah, for that clarity. So, Enoch, one thing you have to know is that the grants under AUEU Action Youth Lab are actually not, just a matter of just giving money and you go and implement your initiative. But then the idea around is, beyond money, what other thing can, the program do to you? So we call it power shifting program, because we look at issues beyond just the funds. We look at aspects of capacity building. We also look at having an opportunity to collaborate, to learn, to connect, to engage with other peers, other youth-led organizations across the continent and even Europe. So the link and learn is an opportunity for each of the youth-led organizations that will successfully be funded to meet under one roof, so that they are able to collaborate, they are able to connect, they are able to engage with each other, they are able to, create stronger networks, within the continent, but also across the continent like Europe and Africa, but also within countries. So the Link and Learn is, a platform that brings, all the youth-led organizations together to share, to learn, and, be able to grow as a network. So usually we have one event per year. And so for the second cohort, which we are right now, you're going to apply for, we will have this event somewhere with those who will be successful. And so we encourage that you budget for it. And for the representation grant, please budget for one person. And once you're budgeting, you look at issues of flight costs, because it will certainly be in a country. It might be in a country where you're not there. So for purposes of budgeting, budget for one person, flight costs, accommodation, and other necessary costs. So there's a percentage to that. Then capacity building, yes, we put 5%, and this money that you're putting there is for institutional growth. As an organization, you might have some institutional needs or capacity needs. That is the money that you use to help you grow. So it's just beyond, it goes beyond just implementing activities, but we also look at what are the things that you will need to be a strong organization or a better organization. There was also a question around composition of staff I think like it was my colleague actually, Najima, that spoke about, no, it was Edmund that spoke about youth-led and what a youth-led organization looks like in terms of the age of young people. So we talked about 15 to 35 years. And of course, in terms of governance, it has to be 100%. So meaning, if it is youth-led, then it has to be led by young people aged between 15 years to 35 years old. And then when it comes to implementation, at least 80% of those implementing your initiative have to be aged between 15 to 35 years. So yeah, that is really what will qualify you under the eligibility criteria. Sarah, I hope I've been able to respond to Enoch. And in case you have any further questions, there's an email that we'll be sharing with you. Please just utilize that opportunity, send that email, and then we shall be able to respond. Thank you, and back to you, Sarah.
Okay, thanks so much, Timothy, for that. Also, just to mention, so the YAB member from Mozambique is most likely or will most likely hold a webinar in Portuguese. So, and this will be shared on our socials. So once that comes through, our colleagues who are Portuguese from Mozambique, I saw a number of us here. We will request that you join that call and get, like very, very comprehensive feedback, but also explanation about the grant. We will also see if the YAB member from the French-speaking countries will also hold a webinar, so that then you also get timely and comprehensive feedback. Let me invite Edmund, who is taking us through the last segment of this call, and then we call it off. Edmund, welcome.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I am hoping that everyone is comfortable at the level we are at. So let's go through the next steps. I don't know if Sarah, you were able to share the link to the website. You had promised to put it in the chat space. Maybe you could. So the next steps going forward, you have to go through the website. There is a Youth Action Lab website. Go through it, read the funding manual carefully because it has detail of everything we were sharing today, the procedure and what should be followed, and everything you need to know is in there in the funding manual. Also, you can register to the Power to Voices platform and follow the AU-EU Youth Lab community. You could be able to get those details on the website, but also on the social media platforms if you look out for AU-EU Youth Lab. If there are any questions that have not been answered at this point, I really hope the questions were answered, but if there were questions that were not answered, we could take just a minute to see if anyone has a question that has not been answered. If you could raise your hand, and maybe we'll take 1 minute to answer the question.
Thanks, Edmund. I think there's one question actually that remembered that wasn't responded to was about AI. So let me invite Titus to respond to that, and then we close it off. But as Titus comes through, colleagues, just remember that the deadline for submitting the application is 7th January 2026. The time is there, not midnight or what, because we usually get lost with the midnight time, but the time is 3 p.m. East African time, and then 13, that is Central European time, or those from West Africa, especially Nigeria, it's what? Okay, Titus?
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. In regards to the use of AI, AI has come to support. That's what everyone talks about, and we do not say it's bad to use it. But remember, too much of everything is dangerous. sometimes when we use AI, you find that your application does not have touch with reality. You find that if you're talking about here in Uganda, I want to do a project here. Let me give you an example project in Nakawa. And then there are those specific kind of like smaller other areas in Nakawa that I would want to focus on. Machinde, south. So we'd want to have, in order to have a practical application speaking on realities, you may find that AI may not pick that. Because remember, this is already, you feed in the information, which for it brings together. So for it may not be able to be bright enough to write for you what you expect. But if you feel that you have a brighter one, that can really give us the best application, just by and large, there's no problem about it. But just know that it will be good for you to do the write-up yourself so that you practically give us something that is realistic. At certain times, we realize that even those that are made by AIs are always applications that do not make sense. It has a lot of English, but no reality. Over to you, Sarah.
Yes, thank you very much, Titus, for that response, and special thanks to everyone who took off time to come and join this learning webinar. For us, it's been a pleasure to have you through. And to the panelists, thank you very much for taking off time to walk us through this journey of understanding how to apply for the representation grants. We look forward to receiving your applications. Come 7th January, we look forward to receiving many of them. And yeah, we wish you all the best. Just to inform you that this is just the beginning. As the Youth Action Lab, we have more in stock for you. And we wish you a good afternoon, a good morning. All the best in the application process. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good luck, everyone.
Bye-bye and good luck to everyone. Thank you. Thank you.